much for agreeing to speak to us today, and thank you for attending the Alternative Investment Summit. I just wanted to ask you about alternatives on platforms. What are the challenges with getting alternative investments onto platforms like Ascentric?
Well, the difficulty that you have is things like pricing, things like liquidity, all the things that are being talked about here at the conference today. It's not easy, it's not straightforward. Platforms like to have natural pricing feeds. They like to be able to reflect values very directly and explicitly on the platform. So there are a few hurdles that still need to be overcome with certain of the structures.
And do you think those hurdles are stopping advisors from going into alternatives? Because obviously, 80 or 90% of advisors are now using platforms today. So is it a barrier for advisors using alternatives?
I think in realistic terms it is, but it's not insurmountable. I mean, most platforms will allow you to hold what's called a non-custody asset, or some of them refer to them as memo items, so that the client can still have a link to a product that isn't necessarily fully held on the platform. That's how I see firms overcoming it today. But I think as time goes by, more and more, they're going to want to see it fully embedded on the platform so that it becomes really part of the custodied overall portfolio for that client.
So there are solutions around at the moment, but perhaps they could be a little bit better. Is it something that the platform industry is working towards? Are they aware of the any demand from advisors to get alternatives onto platforms?
It's definitely a big part of the thinking for most platforms, because obviously we live and die by your proposition and your propositional edge in the market. And if customers want breadth of choice, and they do. They want choice of not just funds, but funds and other types of structures, and choices of tax wrappers. So part of our propositional edge as a platform is continuing to listen to that and develop the solutions that people want.
And I'm going to throw you a curveball now, but I got asked this the other day. I was giving an educational talk on crowdfunding, and I was asked, could crowdfunding ever be held on a platform? This was a question from an IFA who was interested in crowdfunding, but obviously he was a big fan of using all the benefits that go with a platform. Do you think we'd ever get crowdfunding and peer-to-peer lending on platforms?
I think that one would be very challenging. I think there's a lot of real structural barriers to being able to get to that point. But it's one of those things that the market tends to find solutions, and even some of the speakers that are here today and some of your panelists are beginning to build business models to almost intermediate between these products and the platform to make them palatable and to almost provide solutions to the barriers. So we could see that emerging here too, around peer-to-peer lending and crowdfunding, possibly, but I haven't seen a good solution to it yet.
No, it sounds like a really challenging one, but basically if the market is going to demand to have alternatives or crowdfunding or whatever it might be on the platform, then the platforms are going to have to find the solutions.
Yeah, I mean, platforms have had that for the last 10, 20 years to deal with, because clients more and more want to be able to hold reference to debt on a platform, reference to protection products, reference to income drawdown. Those weren't big market requirements for platforms 5 years ago, 10 years ago, so it moves and platforms have to move with the demand.
That's excellent. Thank you very much, Mike, and enjoy the rest of the day.